Welcome back to the shop, of course, guys. And Dieter, thank you so much for your comment because it struck a pretty good train of thought with me, something that I completely forgot to do. And let me take you back about a year's time when I first started working on Suzy, when I picked her up in the bush. Off camera, I actually did the timing just by ear. I didn't actually do the timing with a light because I didn't have one. And I locked everything down, the distributor was fine, and ever since then I've always noticed there was a little bit of a miss, and I've always attributed it to other things and completely forgot that I never did the timing until now. So that's what we're going to do today. Found some pretty bizarre stuff, so if you want to see all of that and more, stick around. Alright, so I've got my old school timing light connected to my old school motorhome, and we're going to fire it up. We're going to give it a listen, and we're going to check the timing. Alright, so here we go. We'll fire it up. Oh, come on, girl. Oh yeah. Give her a few pumps. And this is something that I've been battling for actually quite a while. Then she fires right up. Actually sounds pretty decent. Let's go back to the exhaust here and let's give it a listen. Alright, so this is a little bit difficult to show you guys. I'm going to flash the timing light. I'm going to use some arrows to point out where the timing is actually set right now. I did mark it in white with a paint marker before I fired the engine to make it easier for you, but check out where the timing is. It's way advanced. Granted, I did do this by ear. You can see it right at the top there. And watch what happens when I actually put it where it's supposed to be at about 10 degrees. Alright, so I've got it set to about 10 degrees. And as you can tell, it seems to idle a little bit smoother. But come check this out near the exhaust. Dieter picked up on this right away. And as you can tell, she's got a noticeable miss, and even more so, let's look at the distributor. I mean, look at the orientation of this distributor in relation to the rest of the motor. It's really offset. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it right. We're going to pull number one, and then we're going to check the timing in relation to the rotor underneath that cap. Alright, so as you saw there, and by the way guys, before I started any of that, I made sure that my vacuum advance was disconnected and plugged off, so I wasn't getting any vacuum leaks, and I wasn't getting any timing advance. It's not running quite well. It runs fairly good. One other symptom I'm getting, I'm tongue-tied today. One other symptom I'm getting is after I take it out for quite a while and I hit the highway and I park it, let's say. Once I shut it off, I do experience some dieseling. Other people know it as run-on. So you turn the key off, you're cutting off ignition, and then you still get that chug. You know, it just rotates around for a second or so. So that tells me that there is a timing issue. So, I mean, I haven't opened it up. We're doing this all together, guys. We're going to find out. But the first step we need to do is we need to find top dead center on number one. On the Chevy 350, number one happens to be on the driver's side at the very front. And to make things easier for reference here so we can see it, I've also marked down the firing order on the distributor cap. So I know this is number one because I followed it down to number one. And it follows off, and also to note, the rotor in here, just like the engine, rotates clockwise. So after you know that, everything else kind of becomes more simple. So We've got 184-36572 as a firing order. So we're going to make sure that after that engine has been rotated on top dead center number 1, once we remove this cap, the cap should be pointed at number 1 as well. So let's remove that valve cover. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just start by pulling away stuff like the PCV. And it's not stuck. You hear that? That's awesome. That's good. So that's one good thing. And we're going to also pull number 1 spark plug, but I'm going to wait a little bit because it's been running and I don't need to burn myself, which is why I'm wearing some gloves. All of this wiring that I've done previously for a couple other things, like my tachometer, by the way, which is working really well. I'm going to just kind of move it off to the side. And there's only 4 bolts holding this valve cover on. We're going to loosen that off and it should slide right back towards here. Alright, this should be ready to go. Come on, little buddy. This probably hasn't been hoffed in like who knows when. I'll bet you it's even got cork gaskets, which aren't leaking, which is a good thing, but it's always a good idea to upgrade to something like a rubber gasket. Might have to tweak that a little bit. Get it out of the way. Come on. Aha, there you go. There you go. And there's your cork gaskets. Cool. Okay. And I was wrong though. Someone else has been in here because there is evidence of red silicone. It may have been leaking at one point, and that's what they sealed it with. Silicone and cork doesn't mix, so I might actually end up having to buy valve cover gaskets. It's never a bad idea anyways, right? But so what we're going to be looking for now, I'm going to have to crawl underneath, and I'm going to have to get my lovely assistant to give me a hand here. We're going to put you guys on a tripod. You're going to see all of it, don't worry. I'm going to rotate the engine until the intake valve opens and closes, and once it's closed, I'm going to be keeping an eye from underneath the timing marks. I'm going to put it up to about 10, which is where I want the timing to be. You could put it at 0, it would be alright as well, but I'm going to put it to 10 to see where my rotor is actually firing at, and it should be pointing at number 1, so it should be over here. So, oh, before I could do that though, I do need to disconnect my, I don't even have an inductive timing light, it really is an old school one. So I got to remove it from the spark plug lead, and I'm going to pull number 1 spark plug, and we're going to feel some air coming out as well as I'm rotating that. So then we'll know if the air is rushing out just after the intake valve is closed, that we are on compression. Check out how old my light is. This is how they used to do it back then. All they had was a little spring, goes over the spark plug, and then you put the spark plug lead over here, and then you get your readings and your inductiveness through the spark. It still works, so hey, what the heck. I'm not going to put this too far because I'm going to have to use it again once I verify that the timing is where it needs to be. So let's pull the plug. And here's our spark plug. Oh, that was hot. What does it look like? Ooh. Ooh. She's definitely on the white side. So that means it's running probably too advanced. Could be actually pinging a little bit. So, happy that we caught this. So now the next thing is to crawl underneath and rotate it while we make sure that it reaches number 1 top dead center. Alright, so I'm going to turn clockwise. Is it open now?
No, not yet. Okay, the other one's opening. I mean closing.
Okay. This is off.
Okay, it's closed. It's opening.
Intake's opening?
Yeah.
Yep.
completely
You
closed.
can hear it, right?
Yep.
Okay. That means we are on compression. What's that?
I said, what do you keep dropping?
My wrench.
Oh.
Alright, so as you saw there, and it was very helpful, thank you very much, by the way, Gab.
No problem.
It's kind of hard to do by yourself because of the way the engine is set up in this particular drivetrain assembly. So, we are now on number 1, top dead center. That's 100%. I'm at the front. I'll show you guys a picture in a second. I'm about 8 degrees of timing. So that means that this rotor inside underneath the cap should be pointing to number 1. So that's what we're going to find out next. And cross your fingers, because I've just by the orientation of all this, I got a feeling it's not exactly there. If anything, it's probably 180 degrees out, but maybe not. And if it's not, I guess I'm going back to the drawing board. Let's peel it away here. And in fact, it is a little bit late, but it's not that far off. So what am I missing, guys? I mean, as far as I know, the distributor is supposed to be pointing, from what I can read in forums and all that kind of stuff. I saw another video where this vacuum advance is supposed to be pointing towards number 6, I believe, which is actually pointing closer to number 8. The wires are a little bit short, so is it possible maybe that the condenser is bad? Alright guys, so I've got to kind of make a decision here, and I'm this far into it now. Again, based on a couple of videos that I just took another look at, when you're putting the distributor cap, or this whole distributor in, and this rotor, they're not pointing this way at all. This whole distributor is more towards, pointing towards the front here, and this cap is actually pointing way over here. I think the reason why it's running now is because all the wires are in fact in the correct order and at the right firing order. I think I still might be off one tooth on those splines down below, and it may be causing just enough of a disruption between the sparks, or I might actually have a bad condenser. So, like I said, I'm this far, so I'm going to pull the distributor and retime it. Okay, so let's see here. Pull this distributor out. Okay. And typical of everything else I've been touching, the gaskets are disintegrating. Come on out. There you go. Actually, for some reason it was dual gasket. The other one's still okay. So we don't need this guy. So, for those of you who aren't aware, your distributor rides on a gear. Oh, I go with that. And as you can see, clearly rotates the top rotor. But inside here, I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Let me grab the light. There's a flat spot. How's that? Better there?
Yeah.
And what that drives is your oil pump. So sometimes you may end up having issues trying to line everything up because you're trying to line up the flat spot right into your oil pump drive down below. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can either try and line it up with a screwdriver prior, or you can do like I'm going to try and do right now, which is I'm going to point my vacuum advance to number 6, And because my rotation of the rotor is clockwise, I'm going to advance the rotor because we know that it's going to want to mesh and turn. As you saw when I pulled it out, it went the opposite way. These lights are terrible. I got to get better lights. So I'm going to drop it in, slightly advance to where, because I want number 1. I want the rotor to be pointing at number 1, ironically enough. So something like this. Just throw it there. Get my wires out of the way here. But there you go. So now it's in, except for the fact, and this is where you're going to have to grab the camera and kind of look down below here. Right underneath here, it's not fully set in. It's not all the way down. So that's where a lot of people end up having a hard time, and it might be off by 1 bit, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and rotate the motor, and no matter what, as I rotate the motor, you're going to see that the rotor is going to turn with it, which is fine. I just don't want this to turn with it. I just want this to kind of fall in. So let me crawl back underneath, and maybe with the help of my assistant again, you can just kind of maybe ease this in, just like that, and make it go home. All right. I'm going to start rotating nice and slow, clockwise. Rotor is probably turning, I can't see it.
Yep.
You're putting a little bit of pressure on that distributor.
Mm-hmm.
It should eventually fall right in.
Got it.
There you are. Perfect. Okay, so what I did now is I got the cylinder hold down bolt cinched down a little bit so it's not rotating. Again, everything is where it's supposed to be. I rotated the engine back to top dead center on number 1, and as you can tell, my rotor is pointing towards number 1. Everything seems pretty good, and we're going to put this cap back on so we know that this is number 1 because I followed it down. And as you can tell, it is actually right where it's supposed to be. So there's only one thing left to do. We're going to put it all back together, start it, and time it again, see how well it runs then. Alright, so everything's back together. I'm loving the way the distributor is placed. I got the timing light hooked up. So all there's left to do is fire it up and check the timing. And again, I left my vacuum advance undone. It's actually a much better place for me to connect because it was kind of pinched between the dipstick for the transmission. So let's see if she fires even. I might not even fire. Okay, you can tell it's running. Well, we've only got, I've never had the idle down this low before. We're at 485, 500 RPM, give or take. So let's go check the timing. Alright guys, so as you can tell, the timing right now is at exactly 0, which is probably why it's running the way it is. So we're going to advance it and see how it starts. Or, sorry, we know it starts. See how it gets on RPM wise and see if it runs better. So alright guys, I got the timing advanced, and as you can tell, she sounds much smoother. Let's go see what it's like right at the exhaust. She sounds much better now. Even up here, everything seems a little bit more kosher. Seems a bit better. Even with the timing advanced disconnected. She doesn't stumble half as much as she did before. I mean, she's kind of an old beast, so I'm going to reconnect the vacuum advance, and then maybe we'll go for a little bit of a drive. Alright guys, clearly it's the next day. I'm wearing a different colored shirt And I'm not really dressed for working on anything. This is kind of my nicer clothes. But there is one thing I need to do before we take it out for a drive, and that is to replace the old air filter we have in there. I don't know how old it is, and for $9, I may as well replace it. This one says I'm going to get twice the protection. And was it maybe twice the horsepower? Let's hope, because this old beast could definitely use some horsepower. Anyways, we're just going to remove the doghouse real quick. Something like that. And then we're going to take our fresh, new, clean air filter. Look at that. Beautiful. Nice and white. Wait till you see this one. Actually, you guys probably have noticed it over the last couple of videos. Look at this old guy. I have no idea how old this one is, but just in comparison. Yeah, that one's definitely due. Definitely going to feel good to have a clean air filter. Alright, so let's button this up and take it out for a drive. Alright, here we go. 3 seems to be the magic number. Ah, beautiful. Well, that's the price that we're paying at the pump. What are you guys paying in your area? Comment down below. So we got just about half a tank. How much do you think it's going to cost us? Definitely don't like this part. Alright, so who wants ice cream? I heard it's, what is it, treat days or something like that at one of the ice cream places? Well, there you go. How about we go get an ice cream and we give back to the community by eating ice cream? Well, all the numbers are looking pretty good. Feels great. I mean, we don't exactly have the nicest roads here in town, but we're going to see in a second how it accelerates away from a light. Alright, here we go. Oh, that's much better than it was. It used to stumble way more than that. I mean, it had a bit of a stumble there, but he used to fall flat on his face. So apparently he got a big bump here. Woo! That's not a bump, that's like a crater. Alright guys, as you can tell, the sun's coming down on another nice day. We had our ice cream, everything was fantastic. Really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Suzy's running really strong again. And again, Dieter, thanks for that comment. And I hope to see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.